What's up guys, Shane Starnes here with Droid Monitor X. The Honor 8X is finally here, but there are a few things that you should do to your phone once you finish your initial setup to get the very best experience out of your new device. These are the first 10 things you should do on the Honor 8X. Let's go ahead and get started. The very first thing you'll want to do on your Honor 8X is set up some kind of security measure. The Honor 8X has a perfectly placed fingerprint scanner right there on the back of the phone, and in my experience, it is super fast, super accurate. You're definitely going to want to set up your fingerprint scanner. The way you're going to do that is go into your settings, go into security and privacy, go into fingerprint ID, fingerprint management, and then right here is where you will add your fingerprint. I would suggest adding both index fingers. If you pick up the phone with your non-dominant hand, it's always nice to have that fingerprint registered so that you don't have to switch hands. This fingerprint scanner asks you to touch different places on your finger to get the most accurate reading possible. While it takes a little bit longer to add your fingerprint, at least you know it's doing a very thorough job of reading your fingerprint. So I've got my fingerprint for both index fingers. That way, no matter which hand I pick up the phone with, I'll be able to unlock my phone quickly and easily. The next thing you'll want to do is go ahead and set up your home screen. By default, the home screen is set up with no app drawer. This means that you're just going to get an endless list of applications and it's completely unorganized. This is very reminiscent of iOS. For me, I prefer to have the app drawer. In order to enable the app drawer, you'll go into your settings, go to display, go to home screen, and then you have a couple of options here. You have the standard. I prefer to have the app drawer, which gives a little more organization to your home screen. And it also organizes your apps for you by alphabetical order. You can search for the apps up top to find them quickly, or you can go to whatever the letter is over here on the side, like stock Android. And then you also have app suggestions based on the most used applications that are just really easy to quickly access. Next up, you'll want to edit your notification panel. You get 5 quick toggles with a single swipe down and even more if you swipe down again, but you can edit these. So what I like to do is I like to put the 5 that I'm most likely to use as my first toggles there. So you can rearrange these by just simply pressing and holding and move them around in the order that you prefer. Just remember that the first 5 in the list will be the 5 that come down with a single swipe. And then you also have extra tiles here such as ultra battery saver mode, do not disturb, and a screen recorder, and even the eye comfort control here. These can all be added by simply dragging and dropping, and then you can totally remove those by dragging and dropping them away. Now when you swipe down once, you're going to get the most used applications as your quick toggles. While we're on the notification bar, I also like to add the battery percentage to the notification bar. So the way that you would do that is go into your battery settings, go into battery percentage, and you can do the battery percentage next to the icon, and it's a little bit easier to read, or to save some space up there, you can just go to in the icon, and that's going to put your battery percentage readout right there in the icon. By default, there is no battery percentage in the notification shade. I prefer to have it there just so I can quickly see how much battery life I have left on my phone. When it comes to notches, I think that Honor has done a pretty good job with the notch on the Honor 8X. As you can see here, it is pretty deep, but it is not very wide. And you actually get more screen to body ratio on this phone than you do on the Galaxy Note 9, which is pretty impressive. There's actually an option to hide the notch if you're not very fond of the notch. This is similar to what we've seen on devices like the LG G7 and the LG V40. The way you're going to do that is jump into your settings, go into your display, and go down to the notch settings. You have 2 options here. Either you can keep the default setting, which shows the notch off in all of its notched glory, or you can just hide the notch, and it gives it more of a traditional look. Now your notifications are still going to show up in the same place. This just gives the notification panel a black background, which effectively hides the notch. If you're not into notches, this is probably the mode for you. While you're in the display settings, you may want to go ahead and set your screen resolution. By default, it has the smart resolution, which means that it's going to go between 720p and 1080p in an effort to save some battery life. If you prefer the full resolution that your phone is capable of at all times, then turn that off and go with 1080p. If you want to save battery at all times, just go with 720p. The phone's capable of 1080p And as far as I'm concerned, we should be running 1080p at all times. Maybe you've noticed by now, but I don't have the traditional set of navigation buttons here at the bottom of the phone. In fact, I have just a single nav key. The way you can set that up is by going into your settings, go down to System, and then go to System Navigation. You've got a few options here. There's a navigation dock, the traditional 3-key navigation, and the single key navigation. If we go into settings, it explains how this all works. A single press takes you back, so that's the same as the back key. A long press of the button takes you to the home screen. If you want to go to recent tasks, you can just swipe over to the left or the right. Swiping up from the very bottom takes you to the Google app. And to show the navigation key, if it's hidden, you would just swipe up from the bottom. So if I wanted to go back, I just simply press the button once. If I wanted to go all the way home, I press and hold. I wish that there was a way to change that. I'd like to be able to go home with a single press and maybe swipe to the left to go back and swipe to the right to go to the recents. That to me would be the perfect setup. I'm not seeing an option to change that in those settings. I still kind of like this one-touch experience. So a common theme that I'm finding here in the settings is that there's a lot of things that are set up specifically to save on battery life. One of those happens to be the way that this phone handles applications. We go into our settings, go into battery, and then go into app launch. By default, it manages everything automatically. So it's going to choose when an application can run in the background. It's going to choose when an application should auto launch on reboot. It's going to make those decisions for you with the one thing in mind, and that's saving battery life. But as you know, if this is shutting down your applications, that may affect multitasking and it may affect some of your performance. So what you can do here is turn this off and then choose what you want apps to do on your own. So you can go into this manage batch manually. You can choose what you want each app to be able to do. If you want it to be able to auto launch, you can go through and check the box. If you want it to be able to run in the background, so say it's one that you know you're going to multitask with all the time, you can make sure that it is running in the background by checking that box. If you want no apps to run in the background to save even more battery life, of course you could uncheck that option for all of your apps. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and turn off or disable beauty mode. I noticed that the phone has beauty mode enabled by default and it was set to 5. So I like to just turn that off completely and get the most natural possible look. So here is a picture with no beauty mode, and here is a picture with beauty mode. And as you can see, this doesn't even look human. This looks like alien. So you're definitely going to want to turn the beauty mode off or at least dial it down a little bit. So the way that you're going to do that is go into your selfie mode here and then go into this beauty slider, slide it all the way over to the left, and that's going to turn off beauty mode. By default, it was set to 5. So make sure to slide that off. That's the first thing that I would do. That way you don't have to look kind of silly posting pictures on Facebook with beauty mode enabled. All right, and finally, I would go ahead and set up the Do Not Disturb. Do Not Disturb allows you to basically turn off your notifications at times when you know you're not going to use your phone. So if you know you're not going to use your phone, say from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., you can go ahead and turn on Do Not Disturb. That way your phone's not going to ring and wake you up. You're not going to have that buzzing sound waking you up at various times in the evening. So the way to do that is go into your settings, go into sound, and go into Do Not Disturb. And then you can actually set up your schedule here. You can have this, you can set it for which days you would like it to repeat, and a start and an end time. All right, guys, hopefully these settings help you to get the best possible experience out of your Honor 8X. This kind of kicks off my coverage on the Honor 8X. I'll have a full review of this phone later with many other videos on this particular device. Let me know what you want to know about this phone in the comments below. That about wraps it up for this video. Thanks, guys, for watching. Be blessed. I'll see you in the next one.